So I've been playing around with ChatGPT, and I'm sure we all have already. We've seen how fantastic it is. And I was curious. I'd like to use ChatGPT to do a bunch of things like make a bunch of games just to test how intelligent it is and how its logic is well balanced and structured. And I just said, hey, I'm learning C sharp. I'm trying to get better in C sharp. Why don't I make a couple of games in C sharp? Simple games. We'll start from very easy games to more and more complex games. So I think I'll start from simple games from Windows Form, C sharp application uh, to full on games using Unity Engine. And finally, we may round off with even Unreal Engine, making very complicated games with complicated game mechanics. So let's jump into ChatGPT. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to make one of the most popular simple games we all played when we were young, which is the snake game. The snake that you control a snake to eat a fruit. It's very popular. I'm sure ChatGPT will know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to ask it a bunch of questions. I wanted to make a simple snake game, and I wanted to make it in C sharp. I wanted to use a single class, so I want it to be a very simple game, not one with multiple classes. I'm trying to tailor this video for people who are also learning C sharp and who may not be very well grounded in programming. So I want to make it very simple. Now I wanted to do it in Windows Forms, and I will mention here that it's a Windows Forms, Windows Form .NET application, and this is going to be for C sharp 7.3. So we don't want to use the latest C sharp 8. We use C sharp 7.3, and I wanted to use a picture box for the play area. So I just want to. I already have in mind what I believe the game should be able to do. But you know what? I'm going to remove this line. I'm just going to remove this line just so that it can figure out what to do by itself. I want it to programmatically generate all the necessary controls like timers, picture box, etc. So if you have any idea how C sharp works, C sharp Windows Form works, basically, let me jump right into Visual Studio here and show you what I'm talking about. You would need to use something called the C sharp designer or the Windows Form designer to design the form that you're trying to control. So let's create a new project here. In this new project, I will make it a Windows Form app.NET framework. I will call this ChatGPT game. Okay, let me call it snake. ChatGPT game snake. Create. Okay, so this is what it normally looks like. Okay, where you have your Windows Form, you have a toolbox here, and within this toolbox you should be able to draw out things like buttons, and I can draw a button over here, drag the button to where I want the button to be, size it, and now if I were to run this program right now by going to debug, start without debugging, my program should launch and you see the button here. Okay, so this is the button. If I maximize it, you see the button right here, and you can click the button. That's how easy C sharp Windows Forms are typically. So, but now, typically you need to use the toolbox and drop all your controls. Each of these are controls, and you position them well, and then use the designer and the property window to mess with the UI and everything, and before you go into the nitty-gritty of the code behind each button. But I want to do it programmatically. That's why I say programmatically. What do I mean by programmatically? Rather than have to physically move the controls where I need them to be, I want the code to define it, ChatGPT to define each control in code and do it all at once, so I don't have to do anything myself. Then finally, I want to implement score count, game over, restarts, and a difficulty drop down menu. Okay, so let me send this in and see what it does. Sure, here's a simple implementation of Snake using Windows Forms in C#. The code consists of a class called Snake Game, which handles everything: the game's UI, the snake's movements, and the game's scoring and difficulty level, and game over restarts. So it's producing the code right now. Okay, so from what I see already, it's defining the dimensions, for example, of something. I don't know what is going to use this size here. Let's just see how the code is going. So we have an update difficulty method being produced. There's a new game method where it clears the snake, adds a new snake to this X and Y coordinates, implement some sort of direction system. Oh, here's the difficulty, and it changes difficulty using time. So from what I can see, we're adjusting the interval. Okay, right, we have reached character limit, but I'll just click continue generating and the code should continue. So let's get back here. So right, for the update difficulty, I can see that it wants to implement difficulty by adjusting the time interval that the game timer uses. So the lower the time interval, the quicker it refreshes. That means the snake will move faster if the snake is moving with time, and the longer the time interval. Okay, place food, it's generating a random position in the canvas. So I can see that it is done. Based on this, it is done. It also defined our main over here, snake game. Okay, let's now see what this code can do. The game combines a label for the current score and a combo box for selecting the game's difficulty level. The snake is green, the food is red. The game ends when the snake collides with the wall or with itself, and the game restarts when the player collects a piece of food. I'm seeing that the game restarts when the player collects a piece of food or when the game ends. Okay, the snake can be controlled using the arrow keys. When you run this program, the game will start automatically. The game will also automatically restart whenever the game ends. The player's score is displayed in the upper left corner of the window. The difficulty can be changed in real time via the combo box at any points in the game. Please note that the snake's movement is grid based, so the snake's body will always align with the grid. Now let us test this piece of code first, and I'll show you how to implement code that has been generated by ChatGPT, particularly C# code in Windows Form. So if I copy this in, here is the program that we had created in the first place. Here, so what I'm just going to do simply is this. I'm going to go over here. I won't touch anything that I have here. Typically, I will just paste the code right in to this form, but I won't touch anything here. I'll just come over here, right click on this place here, click add new item. In the new item, I want to name it as the same name as as the namespace, but in this case there's no namespace, so I'll just call it snake game file. Okay, now that I've added this, I will now delete everything inside here and paste what we've just copied. Hopefully there will be no errors. So I can see that there are no errors in this code already. Everything looks to be fine, but I know that we may have one problem. Here we have our static void main defined inside this place, and we also have a static void main defined in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this static void main as the main one, the program.cs, and I will remove this one over here. So I'm going to just make sure that everything aligns properly. So basically all I need to do is change this form 1 to snake game. Hold on. And when I change it to snake game in here, I'm going to quickly remove this. Okay, remove the static void main. Already we have an error, so let's see what the error is. Invalid token. Okay, I think there's a mistake I made while copying. 1 second. Is the error still persistent? No, the error is not persistent. Okay, so jumping back in here, we still see our snake game is now in the main thread here. Let's go ahead and run our code and see what ChatGPT was able to output so far. If there are bugs, we'll solve it together with ChatGPT. So I'll go over to debug, start without debugging, and the game has started, but I can't see anything. I can see my difficulty settings here, but I can't control anything in here. So what's happening? So I see that there are bugs in this game. I'm not able to play it at all and I can't see anything. So let's ask ChatGPT. Let's tell ChatGPT what we've discovered. So first, I'll point out that I defined static void main in a different script called program.cs. Now I cannot see the I cannot see the snake or the food on gaming launch. Okay, I'm going to remove that. I don't want it to think that it's a consequence of what I've just done. Next, I will tell it that I suspect the drop down combo box, the combo box is capturing the keyboard input 2. So this is something I've discovered when I press my direction buttons. It's still controlling the combo box. So input 2. So let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this. So this is exactly how our program.cs was defined. We don't need to change this from what I'm seeing. So it's saying in order to paint elements, you need to attach a paint. Okay. So I'll now ask it to please update the entire game. Please update the entire game. Putting all the changes together. Here's it. So let's watch it adjust the entire game again with these new updates and see what it gives us this time. Okay, so it has completed the update. Let us copy this new version of the code and test it out again. So I'll select all and paste and now run it. And there I see that our game is already working. But the combo box is still capturing the controls. But let's just see. So now we can eat the fruits. From what I can see, our game allows the snake, which is a green dot, to eat the food. The problem is the snake is not growing. And you see the speed at which the character is moving. Okay, so again, the score is counting properly. If you look at the top left corner, you can see that the score is counting properly. The problem is our snake is not growing. 1, 2, the keyboard inputs are still being captured. So if I say select this, keyboard input is still being captured. Very, very important that we fix this. Okay, so 2 things we need to fix: keyboard input being captured and our snake is not growing. So we're going to ask ChatGPT to fix these. So the first thing I'm going to implement, I'll say do the following update. Following update. One, add a game start and pause button. Okay. 2, disable the difficulty combo box when the game is in play. Only enable when game over before game starts and while game is paused. And finally, the snake is not growing in length with each meal. Fix this. Okay, so let us ask ChatGPT to do these updates. Start button, disable. Okay, so it has captured, it knows exactly what I'm trying to do. And let's watch it produce an updated version of this code. Okay, so it looks like it has finished the update again. This updated code includes a start pause button, ensures difficult combo box is disabled when game is running, and ensures the snake grows each time it eats. The game initially starts at a paused state, and the player must click start to start the game. Beautiful. Now let us copy this code and update what we have so far. Okay, select all, paste, and now check for errors. No issues found. By the way, if I go to the design form, I should be able to see the C#, the snake game file form. Okay. Basically, this is it here. And it's empty because it's programmatically generated. But that's, by the way, let's quickly run our code. So we see now, we can select difficulty, let's say hard. Click start, and now it's game over because I touched the edge. Oh, okay, let me switch difficulty to medium. Start. Okay, now let's see what happens when I eat the food. Beautiful. So you see that the snake grows. So let's see, and our score is counting. Our snake is growing. There. Oh wow, I see. So the next thing I want to implement is game modes. I want to be able to have a game mode where I can wrap around the screen to the other edge, and another game mode where I am stuck to, why did I miss that? Where I am stuck to the edge of that's to the confines of the screen. Okay. I can also have a game mode where if I bite myself, it simply cuts the length of the parts that I bit and reduces my points. So our snake is beginning to grow pretty long. So there's another bug I've discovered already. I see that when the snake is moving, let's use the upward direction. If you press the down button, typically the snake is not able to go in the opposite direction to where it's currently going. So it's not supposed to be able to even accept that control. But if you do this, the snake will attempt to go in the opposite direction and it will bite itself, instantly killing you and ending the game. So I'm going to implement the following changes. 1, I want the snake to wrap around the edges of the screen, but not the top corners of the not the top and bottom parts of the screen. Just something cool we can implement. 2, I want the snake to not be able to go in the opposite direction of where it is currently heading. Okay. And 3, I want to be able to set a background picture for the snake, the gameplay environment, just as a goof. Okay, so let's try that. Let's ask ChatGPT. Okay, so already we can see now that you can produce fantastic logic with ChatGPT, and it will generate everything. GPT-4, by the way, GPT-4. So let's add these final updates, and I will release a link to this particular code if you want to download it from my GitHub and play with it yourself at home. So let's add a few more updates. Okay, first I like to compliment ChatGPT because I know that it feeds off. it takes your positive feedback and it reinforces the how do I put it now? Basically, it reinforces its outputs based on the inputs you've given it, and now it will most likely tend towards this in the future if someone else asks this question, because it's learning with everyone's inputs. So the first update I want to add: 1, allow this snake. You know something interesting? Let's make it into a game mode. So I'll say add 2 game modes. Game modes, yeah. First one classic. Here the snake collides with the edges like it currently does, and second one, modern. Here the snake can wrap through the edges. What am I spelling? Yeah, through the edges to the other side of the play area. Make this into another combo box that can only be enabled when the game is not in play. Okay, now the second update I want to add: prevent the snake from accepting a control in the opposite direction to where it is currently heading. Now let's see what it does. I see it's taking its time to figure out what I've asked it to do, because that's quite a lot of things I've asked it to do here. The game modes and the new update. So we'll add a new combo box for selecting game mode, and we'll add some code to prevent the snake from reversing direction. Beautiful. Now let's watch it update. This is much longer in logic, and I'm really impressed with how well. So I'm going to click continue generating again. The code is a lot longer this time. Okay, so it seems to be done, and now it's still showing me the program.cs again. So I'm going to copy this and implement it right away. So back to our game file CS, select all, Ctrl V. No errors, no issues found so far. Let's run the code. Now we have two modes. We have classic and we have modern, just like we described. Difficulty we can set to hard and start. And I see that I can pause the game as well. And when I pause the game, all the controls are usable again, so I can change what mode I'm in, but once I play, it immediately hides it. So let's see modern, it wraps around. So you see now that the game, it wraps around now. Snake is growing, and this is the normal snake game that we are more familiar with. So we can this is actually fun. I think I will have quite some fun playing this. So now let's test the opposite direction. It does not go in the opposite direction. I can guarantee that it doesn't. And it has basically done everything we've asked it to do so far. So let's implement a few more updates. I'm having fun so far playing with ChatGPT doing this. So I want to just keep giving it more updates. Like you can see here, this whole thing has taken what, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and we've already made a game. This is what used to take teams of developers, or at least 2 or 3 highly skilled, competent developers, sometimes weeks, to finish when they start afresh. But now you can just ask AI to build it for you and give it whatever details you want it to implement, and it will do so. Now, one more thing I would like to check is to make sure that it does collide with your body. First, I want to get it to be kind of long again. Okay, so let's see if it collides with our body. It does. And when it collides, you see the game over immediately. Our score of 22 points. And when I click OK, it resets. Now let me set it to classic and start. So in classic, if we hit the edge, game over. So it does work. Classic. Let's try and... So classic is supposed to be slightly more difficult. Oh, yes, I'm able to pause and play with my spacebar and game over again. Okay, so this has been Snake, and it works perfectly so far. I want to add more features or more controls, like ability to, maybe in the modern version of the game, if you bite yourself, it simply cuts off that bit of its tail and it subtracts your points from your total score or something like that, and then create a leaderboard, a way that you can see your previous high score, and probably eventually get the game to be able to connect with your friends, and then you guys can compete with who has the highest points and all that. But so far that has been Snake. In the very next video, I'm going to do another one, but this one for Brick Breaker. It's another game that I know I enjoyed playing. I would like to see Brick Breaker here, where the ball bounces off the edges and off the walls, and we hide power-ups within the bricks, within the blocks, and when you hit certain blocks, they are too strong, so they need to be hit twice or 3 times for the break, and sometimes they're able to break instantly and reveal power-ups that maybe give you more balls, give you more lives. So these are some things I would like to implement later on. But so far it's been fantastic playing with ChatGPT, trying to make this game, and I will continue this series of making games with ChatGPT. Let me know if you like this content. If you feel the content is worth following, please, hey, just subscribe. Don't worry, I won't bug you with too many videos, but I will post very regularly on my journey learning C# and game development. This is Robotics Guy. See you guys in the next one.